Well, Brian, we've made a few of these videos.
We have.
I think back to the one about COVID and what's going to happen, and the property market's going to drop 20%.
Yep. It's hard to believe it was 12 months. Come on, just
possibly to the day.
Yeah,
Not
pretty
sure.
much. Yeah,
Not sure.
that's right. Yep.
And things have changed.
They definitely have. We've definitely seen a shift in the market for sure.
Yeah.
12 months has been a long time in the market, but yet also not in a sense that it's...
Ironically, it's the same, isn't it?
It is.
You know,
Yep.
the discussion then was that the market self-corrects, that the property cycle still happens in the background, that it might be looking like it's going to fall or it might be looking like it's going to rise. Of course, everybody's saying it's just going to go through the roof right now.
Yep.
Right? And we've seen a lot of amazing things happen.
Absolutely, and I think, again, I take us back to when we were sort of this time last year, there was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of people had a lot of questions about where things were going to go, and it's been interesting to see how it's played out over the last 12 months as to where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And but
There have been government grants, there is talk about vaccination, but the market typically kind of does what it needs to do.
yeah, and we talk a lot about the sort of 10 to 12 year property cycle, and you know, there's no, it's no surprise that we are here where we're here, and as I said, it just correlates to a lot of, or everything that we do sort of talk about when we look at the property markets in Australia. So, you know.
And reliable sources. Let's not quote the numbers, but the ABC overnight, very clear articles about what's happening with the property market, and most importantly, the wealth gap. They're talking about the fact that the property market's lifting, those that have got a stake in the property market are benefiting, and essentially it's the property market, the value of the super, and the value of your property investment.
Yep.
Yeah, and those that are doing that are becoming, in their words, more wealthy than those that, in their words, are being that little bit left behind.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's again, I think back to sort of the 10, 12 year mark ago, and people were sort of looking to get into the market, and we were seeing that, call it, boom in the Sydney and Melbourne and other markets in the country, and people who weren't in at the time were essentially getting left behind, and there's people who are feeling that same pinch right now.
Well, there are people who are going, we should have done this 6 months ago, or 7 months ago, or 8 months ago.
Yeah.
But people were looking at us when we were doing things 6, 7, 8 months ago going, you guys are stark raving crazy. What are you buying now for?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, well done, people who do.
Just got to be in it
Yeah.
to be part of that process.
100%.
Yeah. So the banks have got a little bit tighter, finance is taking a little bit longer, refinances are taking a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And it's more work for the brokers.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a direct correlation with the property market. You know, when I speak to people who are in the real estate industry, and for every property that gets sold, there's typically a finance transaction on the back end of that as well. So everybody wants to get the finances approved prior to getting to that point. But
You used to be able to do that. There was heaps of time.
That's it.
You know, it was a buyer's market.
Yeah, and the
vendors
shift.
were like, yes, of course, whatever you like.
Yeah, that's it. And the shift now has completely changed, and we're obviously now in that vendor market that we talk about. And you know, the banks are inundated with applications, and you know, to a degree, they're still reeling from a little bit of the processing and things like that. So it's you know, those sort of things are taking a lot longer. Applications are taking longer. As you said, refinances are taking longer. So anyone who has to get that equity component out of the property has a bit of a delay. And again, the market is moving too quickly for that to happen. And people who are only starting now,
well, they've got to move fast.
They've got to move fast.
To be honest, I've been definitely surprised. You can't put a stronger word on it than that. I guess it could have been expected, but nobody expected it. But latest round of contracts being issued from developers largely are, you know, you need to exchange on this.
Yeah.
And no heads up, no warning, no change. But they've been sitting in their back rooms, and they've gone through, what are we going to do 9 months ago, 12 months ago, etc.
Yep.
But it's been a pivot, isn't it? It's like, you guys, it's pop your EOI down. That's not enough now. We've got a buyer who's right there. They're happy to exchange.
Yep.
So that puts that little bit of pressure, right, onto the broker. But it also means that those who want to capitalise on it, you know, need to put that deposit down, which they've not had to do in the past.
Yeah.
And maybe in 12 months' time, eases a little bit, and we go back. But right now, what's the strategy that they really need to be following?
Yeah, look, speed of transaction for the vendor now is a big thing, because and buyers, like because as you said, like by the time it almost takes to get the finance approved for, let's say, a refinance with an equity release out, there's often again a shift in the marketplace. So what we're seeing a lot of people now is that, you know, you speak to your broker who gives you a really, you know, the confidence level that yes, you can do this, but we still have to go through the finance application. But there is that requirement now from the vendor side that there's an exchange.
If you don't pop that initial deposit down, the reality is they're going to on-sell the block at this point in time.
Yeah.
And I personally want to be in the market as frequently as humanly possible. So that does mean that I've got to take that on board. I've got to act on it, and that's where it sits. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a direct effect of where we're at. You know, like, and that's just the nature of it. And like you said, there is that 6 months ago it wasn't the case, whereas now we're just in that sort of...
I'd rather be making today's video than our sitting on the chair going, it should be okay. Yeah. But again, you know, nervous buyers, right? People who don't understand the consequences of it potentially.
Yeah, that's right. And no, I do stress the importance of, you know, quality applications. So with your broker that can actually...
With the right broker, doing the right maths.
Yeah,
with the right
absolutely.
solicitor.
Yeah.
Right? Because we do need to move reasonably quickly, but we want to take as long as possible to make sure that every I that needs to be dotted is, and the T's.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to give you that indication that there's a comfort from the broker that the maths is going to work.
Yeah, that's it. And I also think as well, like, there's a bit of rhetoric coming out from the lenders now. Like, we saw one of the major lenders actually last week retract a lot of their COVID requirements that were in place.
Yep.
So previously, obviously, you know, employment was a bit of a concern, and it's exciting to actually see that one of the major banks has now actually retracted that.
Well, they're understanding the change in the market.
Yeah, 100%, and it's good to sort of see them kind of come to the party with that, because, you know, you sort of look at some of the figures that have been released where, you know, unemployment rate has reduced dramatically now. Not taken away obviously from the fact that there is still obviously
Our
people who are...
GNP figures, you know, I was with at a function with the Treasurer. You can't say with the Treasurer, at a function with the Treasurer, giving the most outstanding figures about the financial performance of the Australian economy.
Yeah.
With JobKeeper, with all of the assistance, with all their stuff, and we have more debt, but the gross domestic product is increasing, and has increased a very solid amount in the last, more than expected in the last quarter, which is buoying business as well.
Correct.
They like to look like the hero, but it's on the back of very solid maths.
Yeah,
or they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, from being living in this beautiful country that we live in, it's a testament to, you know, both the Australian population to just get on with things and actually, you know, put the head down and get through it. And, you know, we've obviously seen as a nation the rewards from that, and to get out of it as quickly as we did. So, you know, it's great to be here. As I said, didn't think it would be 12 months before we'd be standing here again talking about this, but, you know, to be on the coming out the other side, it is absolutely fantastic to kind of be there.
And I didn't want to stop you, but to just circle back to half of what you said in there, very interesting when I'm talking to people about how much super they've got. And when they've got a very low amount of super, right? Because I never like to say how long have you lived in Australia, but often when they've got a very low amount of super, which is why they've got to do what they're doing to get to that retirement type position. But they're very clear on the difference between where they came from and what the Australian attitude is, and the buoyancy and the financial responsibility, and the, I can make a real difference here. I can get on, I can do something, I can really enjoy the maths that I can derive. But you've got to take an active step.
That's it. And I suppose the first thing really is identifying it and understanding the position you're actually in, which, as you know very well, which is your first discovery session with your customers around where they currently sit, and that's really important.
Most of them know a little bit of it, but they still haven't sat there and gone, what does this really mean for me? And to be frank, sometimes that first discovery session is a little bit you know, they're like, oh, I've made the decision and I'm going to move forward, which is great. I still like them to really understand why and therefore determine what they should do. And that first discovery session can be that little bit, you know, sometimes I hear people at the handover video saying, oh, it was a bit overwhelming or a bit intimidating because they thought they were slightly better off than they potentially are. Their trajectory may or may not be quite right.
Yeah.
Which is why, you know, you can't just let it sit for a prolonged period of time. You've got to get the maths. That was a wake-up call from the rooster in the background at that exact moment in time, just showing we can interplay with the background noises.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I suppose, like as I said, it's you know, all prevalent points, and you know, I suppose to call it to wrap it is basically to say, you know, people are taking action, and you need to take action, and it's about taking that step and again, finding the right team, get your broker, get your solicitor.
That's the critical factor, the confidence in the team.
Yeah, the team. It's got to be right, and
checking that block, making sure it's going to work, making sure that it's going to be able to support and justify and deliver.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Plus the right team.
That's it.
Of course, we're putting ourselves forward as part of that right team. Good to catch up.
Thanks,
the grounds of Alexandria, we're able to stand closer, shake hands, have a nice breakfast, and there's people everywhere, as you've probably seen. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Jeff. Cheers.